Hi, welcome to CMS. Today also we'll continue explaining quantity surveying of CMS, and we'll start now in the same in the structure, but we'll start in the horizontal elements of the structure, which is the slabs and beams. We divided the horizontal elements for three categories in three locations. The three categories CMS have is the beams and the ribs of the slab and the normal slabs. We make a separate partition for the ribs because the ribs need more calculations, and actually it have some difficult calculation which required for a Hordy slabs using the Hordy blocks, so it have some techniques in the calculation, so we separate it as a type of the slab separately. CMS is serving for most types of the slab because most of the slab have the same way of the of calculation except the ribs. That's why we separate it alone, as we'll see now. That's related to the categories. For the locations, we also divided the locations of these horizontal elements for three types or three locations according to just facilitate or to ease the method of calculation and to avoid conflicts and to make CMS calculate all the related aspects or the coming aspect in more easy way, as we'll see now. So we divided for all the horizontal elements till the mezzanine or till the podium, which is including all horizontal elements of basements and ground floor and all the levels of the mezzanine or podiums, because as we said before, commonly in all the buildings they have the same shape and the same dimensions. Next is the typical floors, which also commonly in the old buildings or most of the buildings have the same shapes and same dimensions and same descriptions also as a reinforcement. And the latest is the roof floor, because some also in the commonly in most of the buildings we have the roof floor have a different dimension and description and types. So let's start now for entering the beams. According to our drawings, we can find here the slabs, which is for ground floor and first floor, who have almost the same shape. So we will calculate only one, and CMS will multiply all the data into 2, as we'll see now. If we see the beams, we can find it is as per our drawings. It have B1 and B2 only, because the slab is a flat slab, so it minimizes the number of beams, because the slab is a flat slab which have a minimum number of beams. So let's start. In the sheet of the beam, you will find it is the same shape of the tie beam. Actually, it is the same. And what we'll do here, we'll just repeat the same what we did in the tie beams. Some small difference. There is no, of course, waterproof for the beams because this is not a substructure. We'll find here this number, which is number of the floor, which is coming here automatically according to our description of the project. So it is considered here as a 2, and according to our project, yes, we have the 2 floors have the same shape. Ground floor and first floor have the same shape and same reinforcement and same dimensions and everything. So it is considered like this. Whatever we will enter here for all type of this beams, it will be multiplied by 2. If it is not the same, if you have your project, you have the basement have separate shape and the ground floor have another shape and the mezzanine have another third shape, and maybe you have 3, 5, 4 whatever numbers of shapes. What you will do, you will enter here only 1, and you will enter for each floor and each type of beam separately. Let's go for our example and we'll explain, and it will be clear after 2 minutes. According to our example, we have the ground floor and the first floor or mezzanine floor have the same shape, so it is considered here number 2. Any number or any type will be inserted in CMS in these cells. It will be multiplied by 2. According to our drawing, we will take the dimensions or we'll take the length, the same as in the tie beam. You will find here you will enter all the lengths of the beams for the same type, must be shared in the same type. So we will mention here that what the type of the beam, what is the number of the repetition. If you have one beam repeated more than one time with the same length, so you can enter it one time only and repeat it here for the same numbers of repetition. Otherwise, we'll make the repetition 1 and put each length separately. We will insert also the rebar the same way which we did before. We have here the bottom rebar, we have the top rebar, and the side rebar, and the rings or the stirrups. Here you can just add the floor ID for your reference and for your easing to come back to your sheet and know where is this beam it will be. As also mentioned before in the tie beam, if you have more than one layer in the rebar, either in the bottom or the top of the rebar. The information which you receive for each type of beams, you will find here the total length and the surface area, and the shutters area shall be the same area of shutters. The difference here between the surface area and the shutters area is engineering wise is the same of the shutters of the beams, but this shutters area, it is like an extra calculation from CMS telling you what is the numbers of what the required shutter you will purchase, because CMS considering the margin of the wood. CMS calculate the margin of the wood and increase on the surface area, but engineering wise surface area it will be mentioned in the BOQ, and shutter area it will be mentioned as the material for purchase. The concrete volume per cubic meter, the steel here per ton for each type, and that's the steel ratio for each type. This also for indication for your satisfaction. Let's see now how to enter the data to get all this information automatically. In our project we have B1 and B2 only in this type of slab. You will take the length of the beam including the area above the columns, and you consider this in the length of the column in the column sheets, because the rebar of the beam is passing above the columns and cover the column area. So you will take the dimension for the beams from center to center for each one. Okay, you can take it also directly by AutoCAD in dimension, or you can make it as a full polyline to find the length. According to our projects, we have the length from center to center for B1. After we go to the dimension, we have 5 meter, 4.6, 5.4, and so on. And remember that we're entering only for B1. We're entering only the length of B1. Each table must have only one type. Okay, now we need to enter the other dimension from the schedule. Here we have B1 with dimension of 20 by 60. So we'll enter here 20 and here 60. Okay, and the rebar. The rebar for the beams, we have a bottom, we have top. The bottom straight, which we have in CMS with code A, is 2/16. We'll enter 2 and 16 milli. We'll choose 16 milli. And in the mid span, we have only one, also 16 milli. We'll enter 1 and choose a 16 milli. That's for the bottom. For the top, we have 2 straight and 2 above the column, or extra top, as we have here, C and D. It's also illustrated here. So we'll enter the same. We'll choose also the diameter of 16 with the 2 numbers. In our case, we don't have sidebars, but we have, of course, a stirrup which is 8 milli each 20 centimeters. That means 5 pieces per meter with 8 milli, and that's what will be inserted now. 5 pieces with 8 milli, and by default it must be 2 legs if it's not mentioned any number else. So otherwise not mentioned any numbers of legs, it will be considered a 2 legs only for the stirrups. The same we'll do for the other types of beams. We'll enter the length and the dimensions from the schedules, and of course the repetition, and the same way for the rebars, and so on, till finish all the types of beams. Whatever we entered here, it is multiplied by 2. We asked one question before, in case of a different types of slabs or a different types of beams till mezzanine or podium floors. As we said before, change this number to 1, then add the types and dimensions and reinforcement for each type of beam for each slab separately till you finish all the slabs till mezzanine. That's why we add here this cell, which you can use to name the floor for this type of beams. You can also jump through this sheet using these buttons, and instead of scrolling the mouse and waste your time, you can just jump direct like this. We have here 150 types of beam, which will cover for you most of the construction projects. And the final data which you receive, you will find here the quantities number of the rebar per tons for each diameter, and the concrete quantity for these beams, and the ratio for your reference, and as we said before, the surface area and the shutters area. The same what we did here in the beams till mezzanine and podium, it will be repeated exactly for the typical beam and roof beam. We'll find here the number of the typical floors. It's also coming automatically because it was in the project description, as we mentioned before. We have here one type. If you have another types, also it will be calculated. So any data will be inserted for one type of beam, it will be multiplied by the number of the floors. In our case, it is a 15 floors, so all the numbers will be calculated and multiplied in 15 floors. That's because we have only one type of the typical floor. If you have more, you have to go again for the same and write here only one, and enter each type of the beams for each floor separately. So let's take an example of this. Let's say we have 3 types of slabs, 5, 5, 5. Because we have a 15 typical, we'll consider 5 and 5 and 5. In this case, we can make the repetition here with 5 and insert all our dimensions of the beams, B1 and B2 and B3, whatever. Then we'll go again for another 5. So B1 will be 5, B2 also will be 5, B3 or whatever codes of beam, it will be also 5, and we'll write all the dimensions for this beam. It will be multiplied and calculated 5 times, and it will be finally calculated, and it will be all gathered together to give you the final number for these 5 floors. The same we'll do for the another 5 floors, and you can also, as we said before, that we can mention here the numbers of the floor which have the same code, the same description. Then you repeat it again for another 5 floors, the next 5 floors with the other beams, even if you have again B1, so you can put it here and put the length of the beams and description of the beams dimension and the reinforcement, as we mentioned before in the beam. The same also will do for the beams of the roof. You'll do the same. You'll enter according to the drawing. You will enter the type of beam which in the roof floor. We have here like roof rooms. We'll enter the type of beam and the length and the other description, the other dimensions and the reinforcement from the schedule as we just mentioned. For roof only, it will be considered as a 1 floor, because normally the roof is 1 floor only. If you have others floor, 2 or 3 or whatever, you will just add it one by one. After you finish the type for first floor, go for the another type for second floor and third floor and whatever, if you have like this shape. That's for how to enter the beams in CMS, and see you in the next video explaining the other types of horizontal structural elements, which is slabs and the ribs. See you.